Hey everybody, this is Ripper of Ripper Gaming, and today I want to share some news with you. If you already keep up to date on the ASUS ROG Discord, then you probably have already seen this, but if not, I'm going to go through some of the things that they've identified, what they've shared with us. So hopefully this gives you a nice update on your ROG Ally, and if you're having issues, maybe helps you understand what's going on. So first thing we're going to cover is I'm sharing these on the screen. I'm kind of going back and forth between the camera and the screen here, but Whitson Gordon is one of the folks from ASUS that reports out news, especially when there's updates. And so the three main things he's covering on here have to do with performance, the joystick dead zones, and the micro SD cards. Now, I've had people ask me about several of these, and I didn't feel like I should report on them just because I didn't have any concrete information yet. So this gives us something we can actually talk about now. So the first thing is performance. Now, I've done some videos which show similar performance when you use the latest AMD driver with the latest 319 BIOS. They're basically saying they've done some testing. It looks like it's just been pretty limited to Cyberpunk, but they show on the screen here that they've got testing and they're actually showing improved performance of BIOS 319 as long as you're using the latest AMD driver, and that's the one that ends in 4001. If you're not using that, you can find it in My ASUS and it'll automatically download and install it for you. Some people might still stick with 317. There still are some concerns that 319 has some thermal issues, but they've even mentioned they might look into that as well. So I think at this time, performance wise, you're probably good with either 317 or 319. But if you are going to use 319 for the BIOS, make sure that you're updating to the latest AMD driver through My ASUS. You can get it off the website as well. It's available there now also. So the next thing that they bring up has to do with the joystick dead zones. Now, I've done a bit of testing. I've read a lot of Reddit posts. I've talked to people about this, and it's just not something that I really notice on my Ally. I bought mine retail from Best Buy, same as a lot of people, and I've not really had too many issues with it. I mean, the issues I've seen are really more Windows issues, although there is an issue with the power delivery not showing up correctly, but you know, that's something that's not a big deal, and they'll address that. So the joystick dead zones, I think for me, are really noticeable when you're using Windows and you're using the joystick as a mouse cursor. So that's really kind of hard to kind of get right where you want. You know, I'll go over an icon and back and forth. So I usually use a mouse and keyboard docked when I have to do something like that. And then otherwise I use touchscreen. So it's not that big a deal for me. But in games, I haven't really noticed any issues. But I've used a virtual controller, which I covered in my PS4, PS5 video. Also Steam will allow you to override the controls from Armoury Crate. So I haven't really seen enough issue that I felt like making a video on it other than the Windows desktop. So it is something they say they're looking into. So hopefully they can come back and tell us. Initially, they don't see any issues from what it sounds like. They think everything kind of is in line with other controllers. So it remains to be seen if anything additional will be done for that, maybe software-wise. So, and the last thing, which I've heard a lot about, and I really wanted to report on, but it's just when you've worked in IT for a while, it's hard to say if something's a hardware issue, a software issue, and you don't want to blame the people, and you also don't want to blame the folks that have made this device, right? I mean, if Ally is overheating and causing SD or micro SD cards to malform or causing them to die, that's an issue. But is it a hardware issue? Is it an issue with the fan curve being too low? I think a lot of these things have been speculated about. So I just really haven't come out with anything about that. But they are stating here that they are very aware of it in this bottom section, and say that they're hard at work testing that. So they do say that they do ask that you'll go do an RMA if you have a device that has an issue. Sounds like a lot of the returns kind of revolve around that. So I haven't seen an issue with mine. I've run a couple different SD cards, but to be fair, most of my game playing happens on my hard drive. Since I put in a 2 terabyte hard drive, I don't use the SD card that much. As I start doing more emulators, I'll probably make use of it. So we'll have to report back on that when we have more info. If it's an issue with it overheating, a fan curve can help with that, with a higher fan curve to keep it cool. If it's some type of hardware issue, that's a much bigger deal. But there's no evidence to support that quite yet. So once we know more, we'll see. Will there be any type of recall? Will they only address affected units? Will it be an extended warranty? There's a lot of ways that they could address this, but at this time, I think it's still going to take some time. It sounds like the folks that worked on this project were on holiday for the past week, and so they're just now kind of getting back into it, it seems like. So we should have some good news, but this at least lets us know that they are looking at the issues, they're focused on them, and they're going to address them. So I think that's what we want to hear. Anyone that was around for the launch of the Steam Deck knows that they had issues as well. It's just, it seems like they were quicker to address things. So let's hope that ASUS kind of learns from this and just continues to address any issues we might see. But overall, I will say I feel like it's a very solid device. So if you don't have one and you're kind of on the fence, I would say it's still good to go ahead and get one, especially if you can try it out and return it. And even if it passed the point of return later on down the line, if it's an issue that's a known issue, it sounds like ASUS is going to intend to address it. So that's just kind of my take on it. Hopefully there's some good news for some of y'all, and if you feel comfortable updating to BIOS 3.19 now, then it sounds like from the limited data they've given us that it's probably okay. And of course I've got my own data that shows that it's on par. It's not exactly the same, but it's definitely much better than BIOS 3.19 before the new AMD driver. So anyway, just wanted to share a bit of news with you. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoy the videos, please give me a like and subscribe, and I'm out. Thanks all.